I'm a longtime Texan. My family on both sides have been in Texas for a long time. I graduated from Tascosa High School in Amarillo and went off to West Point. And spent the next 24 years in the Army. I married Tracy right after West Point. She's right back there. I was a bachelor for 3 days. You know, you can't be married at West Point. So I was a bachelor for 3 days. And I say 3 days of bachelorhood was plenty for me. We've been married for 34 years. She's been around the world with me. We've been overseas for a decade together. Plus I got recalled out of retirement to go work for Tommy Franks for our latest little foray into Iraq. I was in Afghanistan for a little bit and then served on his staff in Qatar. And so a total of 24 years, and I will tell you, my life has really been based a lot on the motto of West Point, which is duty, honor, country. And that's what I like to base my life on, because I can look myself in the mirror every day when I get up. Why you ought to be involved in the Commissioner's Court races. We have 35 elected officials in Collin County. 5 of us set the tax rate and tell you how much you're going to have to pay in taxes to fund the other 30. This is why you need to be involved in the Commissioner's Court races. If you want fiscal conservatism in Collin County, it starts at the Commissioner's Court. Now, we need conservative district attorneys and sheriffs and judges and all of that, and they cooperate with us, and that's important. But if you want fiscal conservatism, fiscal responsibility, fiscal accountability, it starts at the Commissioner's Court, and that's why I think you ought to be involved in Kathy's race, and my race, and the Precinct 2 race. 3 things. I said I would stand with the taxpayers, and I did. First of all, transparency. When I took office, the Commissioner's Court was doing an audio recording of our meetings and then putting it away. And you had to go ask for it. Now we webcast real-time plus archive our Commissioner's Court meetings. If you are a night owl, you want to watch us at midnight, feel free to do so. I won't be up with you, but you can watch us at midnight if you choose to, because it's all right there. You can hold me accountable for what I said in June of 2008 if you choose to do that. Some of it's pretty boring, but you can hold me accountable for what I said. Secondly, I said we would slow the growth of government. We slashed the growth of government. The 7 years before I took office, the operating budget for the county was growing at 10% plus every year on average. The 3 budgets that I've been involved in since I took office, we are growing the operating budget by 1.26%. Growth of government. And Kathy's covered our tax cuts. We have cut taxes, and you need to understand that. You've got a homestead exemption plus a tax cut, and you should be feeling the effects of that now. But let's be honest. There are some tax spenders in Collin County that are not happy with me. I think when they thought when I got elected that I would simply become one of those go along to get along politicians. I think they didn't want a leader; they wanted a follower. And I didn't run for office to simply change the person in the seat. I ran for office to stand with the taxpayers to see changes made, and I think we've done a fairly good job, myself and the commissioners, because I do nothing on my own. There's 5 of us on the court. It takes 3 of us to do anything. So the court has acted as a body to do these things that I just talked about. I like to tell people that I'm not the Ronald Reagan of the Commissioner's Court. I am the Maggie Thatcher of the Commissioner's Court. If you remember, Maggie Thatcher was called the Iron Lady. Well, she wasn't called the Iron Lady for nothing. She was a great lady, and I want to read her vision to you. Her vision is very close to my vision, in case you haven't figured that out yet. It says, Maggie Thatcher said, about 1979, she said, "Let me give you my vision. A man's right to work as he will, to spend what he earns, to own property, to have the state as servant and not as master." Listen to that last sentence again, to have the state as servant and not as master. Let me tell you, We've got, now the Dallas Morning News is not exactly the paragon of conservatism. They laid out this race very well on November the 8th. Ed Housewright did a very good job of laying it out. Let me read you just one sentence. My opponent, he says, is part of the moderate bloc that has long dominated the party. How many of you want to continue to be dominated by the moderate bloc of the party? No. Laid out the race very well. Go back and get it. November the 8th, Ed Housewright, Dallas Morning News. He did an excellent job. I couldn't have written it better myself. And lastly, I will say, I too have an opponent out of the Plano ISD board. Now, the ISD board, you need to understand, the ISD is a governmental entity. They raise taxes just like we do. They collect taxes. They fund the ISD.
And
my opponent is on the ISD board, very similar to the Commissioner's Court for county government.
Bonded.
I didn't know this until just recently, but this book is the book that's called The War on Christmas. Now, the subtitle is How the Liberal Plot to Ban the Sacred Christian Holiday is Worse Than You Thought. This is a 2005 book, okay? So this book is The War on Christmas. It talks about locales around the country that have done things that seem to be anathema to the Christian tradition. Plano ISD has a chapter in this book. You'll hear more about that later. So again, my name is Keith Self. I'm the sitting county judge in Collin County. And if you remember nothing else, remember that I said I would stand with the taxpayers when I first ran, and I did. Thank you very much.
Thank you.